Welcome, welcome. My name is Charlotte Froh. Welcome to Change by Choice, a podcast I started about a month ago. We are going on to episode 4, and today what we are going to be tackling is happiness. How come some people are always, or seem to be always happy, and why are others just not? So before I head into the topic, to tell you a little bit about myself, I am a certified high performance coach, and I own a brand, obviously, Change by Choice. And I also am a owner of a consulting company called Thrive Consulting. So I've been in business now for almost 6 years, and I work with businesses and leaders in terms of their people processes. So how to put their people first, whether that be implementing the right systems, going in and doing training, developing training programs, recruiting, just a whole bunch of fun stuff. I always think of myself as like that foundational work of building the right foundation on the bottom of that business so that you can move forward and your people are set up for success, and then your people help build the rest of your business. So when you have the right people and you've got the right systems and you're leading them in a positive way, then you're going to see amazing results from your people. So that really was my passion piece. But that bigger passion piece has always been people, and people living extraordinary lives and generating and creating their happy and finding their balance, not the balance, that everyone likes to throw out there, but it's different for every single person. And just creating a life that they love, surrounded by people that they've chosen to be with, and not having to live in the status quo just 'cause. Life is an evolution. We get to one place, we evolve, we grow, hopefully. We step ourselves, or we push ourselves out of our comfort zone, and then we grow some more. And so I always lean on some of those things, like what got me here isn't necessarily what's going to get me there, and it's up to me to really grow and define what that's going to look like. But that won't ever happen if I'm stuck in my comfort zone. So just a little bit about, the ideology behind what I do and what my passion is, and my deep desire to help people connect with their truest, most authentic self. As leaders, as business owners, as parents, as single people, just wherever you're at, that's how you gain the most momentum in your life. That's when you're the most passionate. That's when you are the most productive. That's just where my passion really stems from. So I'm also on that journey, obviously, and it's ever evolving. I have 2 children. I love them dearly. I'm a single parent, co-parent amazingly well with their dad, and I just, I made a decision that things didn't have to be set out a certain way. Things didn't have to be hard and tough and sad and depressed, and that I had every opportunity and every chance to create the life that I really wanted, so that my kids could see that we generate and we create our happy. And so I guess that's, part of what's leading me into this next topic that we're going to be talking about. The other part of it is that I've said it before, I'm a pretty optimistic person, but I definitely throw in the dashes of realism, of reality. I'd like to say I'm a combination of both, but I don't desire to go out there and be in a bad mood. To me, that doesn't feel good, So I'm usually in a good mood. I'm usually smiling. I'm usually making the best of the moments that are out there. And that's just always been how I've been, ever since I could think back. My earliest memories, I was always a smiling, happy child. And that didn't mean that there weren't hardships. That didn't mean that I didn't have times that were sad. But I always used to think that my soul was happy, And And then it grew into a place of, well, now I'm responsible for myself. In my 20s, going into my 30s, that, happiness doesn't just happen. It's a flippin' choice that you make every single day. There's this connotation that happy people are just happy and that's that. And it's not that. It's a choice that I make of how I'm going to show up. How I'm going to show up with other people, how I'm going to show up in conversations, how I'm going to show up in life. I'm going to show up on social media. And I'm still going to be real and talk about things that are happening, to be vulnerable, to share. But what I'm not going to be is somebody that just, sprinkles out my garbage and then just leaves it out there for other people. I've always been somebody that when there's a problem, it's like, come up with a solution. Let's move forward productively. Not just like pointing out that there's an issue and walking away from the situation. And so it really comes down to a mindset. Probably we're holding ourselves accountable and realizing, and there's more and more studies that are happening, that we take on other people's energy. So if I am out there with awful energy, complaining all the time, miserable, unhappy, not taking any accountability for my happiness in my life, then I'm just giving that energy off to other people, and that's what they're getting from me? Nah, bullshit. The other part is that when you start to hold yourself accountable to how you're showing up for other people, authentically, not in a fake way, then you won't allow that in your space anymore. Or you will for a little bit until you hit a wall and you decide that no more. It's hard enough getting our own selves to show up and be on an A game and really, really be mindful of how we're showing up in life. But then you get to a place where it's like, no, I'm not having that. If I go to a store now and there's somebody in an awful mood just complaining, I'll go to the next lineup. I might even say it to them, just depending on the scenario. We all have an accountability, I guess, a duty to own our energy and our space and what we're throwing out there. And, obviously this is my opinion, but it's just something to reflect on. It's something to think about. And just because you've been a certain way for a while doesn't mean that you can't change. All it takes is to have an aha moment, a realization, and to add in some action. And you can start that change process, slowly but surely catching yourself when you're starting to slip into complaining, when you're miserable. Ask yourself, well, what's one thing that I could do differently that is going to change my mindset from this to this? What's one thing that I could do differently that is just going to make me just a little bit happier every single day? The other thing that I've noticed too is that when people aren't happy, they don't have gratitude for anything. I don't care what goes on. It could be the crappiest situation, and I can take a step back and just say, what's the lesson that I need to learn here? What is it that I need to experience? What can I move forward with that I didn't have before? That, it hurts right now, but this will have given me a piece of a puzzle that I didn't have before. And it's amazing how just that process, you start to have gratitude for those bittersweet moments that happen that, quite frankly, you would not choose to have in your life. But like we've said before, shit happens. That's life. It's messy old life, right? So we just have to develop different coping skills. The things that feel bad, I'm going to say it over and over and over again. got to develop a different relationship with what feels bad. It's not about pushing it away whenever we feel vulnerability and discomfort and broken hearts and hurt feelings that all of a sudden like we just can't deal with it. That's the time where you just embrace it just a little bit closer. Hold on to it. Sit in it. Nothing's going to happen to you, I promise. Start to train yourself that it's okay to feel those feelings. Because out of those feelings, you develop clarity. And that clarity will help you decide what you do and what you don't want in your life. That clarity is so crucial to our future. And when we get those learnings and, that helps us, that educates us through experience, not just through reading something in a textbook, on how we can move forward. And not only that, but one of the greatest gifts that we can have when we've gone through difficult times is how can we share that with other people so that we can help somebody else who might be going through something similar. Why else would we be given that experience? To what, just be miserable and just be depressed and it's like, no, there's always something, somebody, someone that needs that support. You have to decide, do you want to be the person that is a contribution, that is support, that is caring and wants to be part of that process? Or are you the type of person that you just like the addiction of the chaos and the anger and the bitter and the complaining? And I say the addiction of it because sometimes we do that so much that if you didn't have that, if you didn't have the anger and you had to let it go and you had to just accept, you had to forgive, if you had to do whatever it is that you would have to do to step outside of that, all you're left with is you and accountability. Quite frankly, I think that scares a lot of people. Because then what? That's why that slow building process of growth and development and support and having the right people around you is so imperative to becoming that your best self. And the process does not feel good. It doesn't. Growth and development is it's a roller coaster ride. And that's why so many of us are just attracted to just being comfortable, complacent. It's safe. Our mind wants us to be safe, looking to protect us from things that might potentially hurt us, that might make us feel sad, that might, cause us any kind of damage. So it just keeps us back and in fear. Primarily a large part of what we've gone through in the past. Our past just keeps us so sheltered. Oh, no, don't go there. You got burned last time. Oh, no, don't love again because, you know what happened last time. And it's just this process where our mind just holds us back. The thing is, it's not real. Build up all these walls to protect ourselves from what? Never, ever growing or being better ever in our life? It's absolutely crazy talk. That's why it takes that perspective, that shifting of looking in on yourself and being able to say nah, that's not how my mind is coaching me right now, is not the truth. And I always say, if any thought is negative in your head, if you are seeing things in judgmental, just not nice way, you can just say to yourself right then and there, mind, you cannot be trusted right now. Right? Because that's all ego, positioning, the past, just holding you back from just being peaceful and present and making the best choices for yourself. Right? So sometimes it's just having that perspective of what would I have to do to be my highest best self? What changes to my language? What changes to my behavior? What changes to my mindset do I have to make so that I truly am living from that place? I'm not saying damaging words about myself. I'm not being judgmental to others. I'm not, feeling the need to put other people down. I'm not feeling, jealous or entitled or any of those feelings. And that's really where you do that, just that little bit of reflecting every single day. When you can just tell something is off with you, ask yourself some questions. Dig in just a little bit deeper. Ask yourself, why am I thinking that? Why am I going there? That's how you start the process. Is not by avoiding. It's just starting to ask questions and starting to dig. Before you know it, you start to sit with the answers. They don't hurt you. They might not always feel great. And sometimes you're going to feel a little bit shameful or bad about yourself, because none of us are born wanting to be bad human beings. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's sometimes we screw up. Sometimes we just let our past and our situations get the best of us. We play small instead of playing big in life. And playing big in life is like being vulnerable, and it's taking responsibility and apologizing and saying what we mean and being authentic and true to ourselves, right? And it's a journey. It definitely isn't something that just like comes overnight. And usually the process is a bumpy ride. A couple steps forward, one step back, 7 steps forward, 7 steps back. Sometimes you're like, did I even grow? And it's like, yeah, hell you did, because you're learning something every day. And not only that, but one step forward is better than just staying stuck and paralyzed in fear because you don't want to make the wrong move, or it's not going to be perfect or anything like that. Forward is forward, period. And that's better than nothing, because there are a lot of people doing nothing. Embrace the journey. Trust the journey. It's how it goes. And, what do you have to lose? Because you have so much that you can gain. So looping this back into happiness. I know we went on this whole tangent around, but happiness is a choice. And when people are like, oh, you're so happy all the time, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, do you understand that choice, it's harder to be happy all the time than it is to wake up and just let all those negative emotions take over, and situations and bad feelings and all of that, and just be comfortable in that? But I'll take happiness any single day. And I appreciate it when I see it out there. And I'm not talking again about the fake happy. I'm talking authentically, I'm just going to go with what life throws me. And I'm just going to have gratitude for the life that I have, for every single moment of my life, because you know what? I could maybe not be here tomorrow. And I don't want to look back ever being like, I wish I had, when I've had every moment and every chance to make a decision now. And if not now, then it's now. It's not tomorrow. Because that's what we have to give. Our legacy, it's how we show up with people. The imprint that we leave behind is actually the only thing that is remembered and honored about us. So when you start to live each day, just thinking, what do I want my legacy to be? What would I want people to say? Not in a superficial way, but what would people be saying right now if I, passed away? And is it what I would want them to say? What's the gap? That gap is all the action that you need to do in your life. It's all the changes that you need to make to be your highest self, to live an extraordinary life. And it's a challenge. I'm throwing this challenge out at everybody. Every single person needs to take a step and be accountable, be truly accountable to themselves. I mean, the world needs it right now. Not just us as a community, everybody. If we were all just to take a moment every day and make one shift in our life, think about that growth, think about the changes in energy, think about just the shift in our communities. And it's not impossible. We just all have to own it and do it. For me, I'll own it. And I'd love to have anybody out there join me and do it. Because we have one life. Right here, right now, present time. I will not look back and regret. So that's that with the happiness chapter. So just remember, when you see happy people out there, it's tough work, guys, you know? And it does not mean that that we are not ever sad, that we are not ever going through anything, that our life is perfect. That we make a choice when it's not perfect on how long we're going to stay in it and how we're going to move through it. And we're not going to be prisoners of it. Because that would be such a pity, to lose our entire lives being trapped in something that was probably not, planned or prepared for. And it doesn't have to be that way. Because on the other side of situations are amazing opportunities. If you don't push yourself there, you'll never see them. They'll never come. You'll see, you start to live a different way of life, you'll see how many opportunities start coming at your door. You start to make those hard choices, start to examine where you're spending your time, how you're spending your time, who you're spending your time with. You start to be authentic, amazing things come your way. But like anything, it doesn't come without hard work. It is not given. So, things to keep in mind. Again, you can reach me on Facebook, on my website, www.charlottefro.com. I'd love to hear other topics in which you'd love for me to talk to you on this podcast, Change by Choice. What you're also going to start seeing is I'm going to be starting to interview on my podcast, which is really, really exciting. And I have a list of beautiful human beings that hopefully are going to join me. And the podcast isn't just going to be, it's easy to just share somebody's success story, right? I know amazing, incredible people who have amazing stories. The thing is, I'm going to be sharing their journey, the depths of the journey. Because that's what I want people to start to connect to, is that it is not easy. And sometimes we just see the success on the other end. What we don't know is what was holding that person back? What did they have to go through in order to even get there? Because some make it and some don't. And that gap in between really is mindset. It's perseverance. It's determination to the max, that nothing is going to hold them back from getting to their goal through all the failure over and over and over again. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Extraordinary stories. And I cannot wait to start sharing them. So stay tuned for those ones. Otherwise, I'll just pick random topics that basically just come to me. And what else do I need to tell you guys? Just exciting stuff. Yeah, anyways, actually, I'll share soon. I'll share soon some new programs, some new key elements to my brand that are going to be launching in the next month. So stay tuned for that. And let's just keep the dialogue going. You know, it really comes down to, if you want to make changes in life, it comes down to the choices that you're making moment by moment, day by day. Right? So anywho, I hope you guys have an amazing day, and we will talk soon. All right? Take care.